Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a flower painting tutorial. I figured with everything going on right now, some art therapy might be nice, so grab your supplies and follow along. First you're going to need some paper or a sketchbook. I'm going to be using my Strathmore Mixed Media sketchbook, which I love. The next thing you're going to need is some paint. I'm going to be using my gouache palette, which I'm showing you here. You can also use watercolor for this painting. I know this doesn't look the best, but this palette works for me. You'll need a white plate or a palette to mix your paints. A paintbrush. Here I'm using my Da Vinci size 4 brush. It's got a really great point. I'll be using a kneaded eraser. And if you are using a sketchbook like me, you want to use some binder clips just to hold it open. To get started, I'm going to start sketching my flowers throughout the composition. I just want to keep it loose and light. I've chosen 3 flowers to paint today. One is anemone, another is daffodil, and then sweet peas. For some of the greenery, I've decided to take inspiration from this previous painting that I did of some windmill palms, and I'm just going to spread out a few of those throughout the composition. As I'm planning out my composition, I just want to think about how I can keep the viewer engaged in the painting, so I do this by spreading out the color and making sure that there's a few elements here and there that are guiding the viewer's eye throughout the painting. So here I'm adding in some daffodils, and I'll make sure to add some throughout the composition so that I've got some spurts of yellow here and there. Once I'm happy with my sketch, I'm taking my kneaded eraser and then rolling it on the paper like you would with a rolling pin. This will prevent the pencil lines from showing up through the painting. Then I'll just quickly dab over the areas that still look a little bit too dark. So first I'm going to go ahead and paint some of the leaves and stems. When you're painting leaves, you want to start with the point of the brush and then push down onto the belly of the brush and then lift back up to the point of the brush, and it makes this really nice organic shape. I also like to leave a little white gap in the center of the leaf, which just helps identify where the center of the leaf is. For these windmill palms, I'm just doing some short and quick strokes all around. I think it's good to keep this loose because it looks more organic that way. For the stems and leaves of the anemone flowers, I've decided to use a contrasting green, which is a really pale sort of pastel green. As I'm painting, I kind of just like to see what feels right. You don't need to follow exactly what I'm doing here, you can kind of just see what you prefer. A quick tip to get more of a foresty green is to add a little bit of red to your green. Now I'm just going to mix up a bit of yellow for my daffodils, and I'm starting by painting the center of the flowers. Daffodils are my favorite spring flower, and I love to paint them when spring comes around. As you can see, I'm leaving the center of the daffodil white. It just kind of shows where that hollow area is. This is one of the things that I really like about illustration, is that you don't have to be super realistic. Now I'm going to go ahead and mix up a peachy pink for my sweet pea flowers. These flowers don't really have a structured shape of any kind, so you can just keep it really loose and go with the flow. I'm also adding some little flowers that aren't fully bloomed yet, just to give a little bit of variety to the painting. Now I'm going to go ahead and mix up a little bit of a darker yellow so that I can add some dimension to the daffodils. I'm starting by adding a little bit of an outer ring to the center of the flower and then a little bit of texture to each petal. Again, I just like to suggest the shape, I don't like to make it super realistic. Now I'm mixing up a bit of a darker pink so that I can add some dimension to those sweet pea flowers. Again, I'm just keeping it super loose, just adding a little bit of texture and indicating where some petals might be. Since these anemone flowers are white, I'm just going to go ahead and paint in the black center. But then later on I'm going to use the background color in order to outline the flower. For the background color, I've chosen this ice blue shade by Arteza. Now I'm just softly outlining all of the flowers and the leaves, adding a little bit of a white gap in between them for an extra effect. This process is time consuming, but I find it really meditative, so I really like it. Here's a past example of an anemone flower that I painted. I'm going to use the same technique today by outlining the flower using the background color. I find that the more I take my time with this process, the better the result. Once my background is complete, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of detail to the leaves. I do this by using a darker color and adding some shades and some lines. Again, it's a very organic process. I'm not trying to be too perfect. I'm just going with the flow. And I just like to go over the flowers with another layer of a darker color, just to really make them pop and add a lot more dimension to the painting. I'm also just adding in some leaves here and there to fill up the space a little bit more. And there you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any feedback, please leave it below. And if you'd like to send me your creation, please send it over to me over on Instagram, which is @SabinaFen. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next video.